Could be a little scary for those
Bad
folks.
for underdog, right?
Bad
Underdog
for
cannot
Snoopy,
handle
bad for
win.
Snoopy. Who's underdog?
You don't know
One of the
underdog?
big
No.
balloons.
Is that one of the balloons?
It is, historically. They may have retired underdog, not sure. But the cool thing is, Ainsley, now the parade that you grew up watching goes in front of the building that you work at.
I know, it's so cool. It's wonderful. A lot of people from work, they go out on the balconies and they watch the parade with their kids.
Meanwhile, there wasn't a lot of happy faces, I imagine, at the White House when a San Francisco judge ruled this about the president's rule on asylum when it comes to illegal immigrants coming to this country. Remember, the president rolled out an executive order that said, hey, if you come here illegally and we catch you, you'll never, ever get citizenship. You're going to be banned from ever getting it. A judge looked at that, and they have a problem.
Well, he said no more catch and release, now catch and return. And then this judge, who's a San Francisco judge appointed by President Obama, has blocked the president's proclamation, saying he can't refuse asylum to immigrants that cross illegally.
The judge is U.S. District Judge John Taggart, who was nominated by Barack Obama back in 2012, and he essentially says the president is breaking the law, insane. And when the president said a couple of weeks ago, he said, if you want to apply for asylum, you got to go through the ports. Well, essentially, he says that is against the law, and he says that the judge says, federal law says all people on U.S. soil can apply for asylum no matter how they arrived. The court order, this one, is going to stand until December the 19th, and then a court will listen to it and figure out whether or not it should become permanent.
The reason it was brought to the court, the ACLU and the Center for Constitutional Rights, they sued after the president issued that ban earlier this month.
Right. And keep in mind, there are thousands now who have massed just south of our southern border in San Diego, south of San Diego, in Tijuana. And last night, overnight, the Department of Homeland Security shut down most of the port because they had received intel from the Mexican government and others that apparently a number of the migrants, they decided they were going to just run through the northbound traffic lanes to get into the United States. Remember that scene from a couple of weeks ago now where the migrants overwhelmed the guards at the southern border of Mexico from Guatemala and Honduras and just pretty much walked right into the country. The government here does not want that to happen, and so they have fortified our southern border.
It's the nation's,
San Diego.
it's the largest border crossing area, too.
Yeah, you see those signs that show a woman and child going across the street as if you're in San Diego, as if to say this is going to be a problem. Keep your eyes open. But I think it's also important to point out that Secretary of Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen basically was told on Sunday, or in the interview that aired on Sunday, she's very smart, she's very able, but she's not been tough enough at the border. Is this her way of saying, how's this, Mr. President? Is this tough enough? She wrote this AM, all of San Ysidro port of entry's northbound lanes temporarily closed to initiate additional port hardening efforts after CBP officials were notified that a large hashtag of caravan migrants were planning to rush the border, should say number.
As early as this week, the rest will be done by December the 15th. Clearly, this administration is handling migrants in a different way. At least that's the observation of Tom Homan, who used to be the acting ICE director.
We got a president that takes border security seriously. We got a president that believes in the sovereignty in this country. We got a president that believes in the rule of law. We got a president that supports the Border Patrol and ICE. He's doing his job. So what's going on in Mexico, they're waking up. Their country, had their sovereignty's been attacked. These people went through their southern border, assaulted their federal officers and their military. Mexico is finally saying enough's enough.
Also, there's a report that the president is planning to grant the remaining troops the authority to protect the Customs and Border Patrol officers should they face violence. In other words, changing essentially the rules of engagement rather than simply be there to support, they can defend.
Right. Instead of everyone thinking, oh, these are a bunch of people coming up that just want asylum. Those are some of the cases. But it wasn't the case yesterday in the Rio Grande Valley sector. They arrested 3 Central Americans who are known members of violent gangs. The agents arrested 5 illegal immigrants with criminal histories, including convictions of homicide, child rape, and other sexual crimes. For those who think that it's really un-American to put barriers at our border, take a look at what we're pulling in many cases.
They're saying mostly men, a lot of them teenagers, mostly the women and children are left behind. It's usually, they looked at the big group and they said most of them are men. Well, now, there are 6,000 now that are in Tijuana. You know, that number continues to grow. And the folks that live there are really upset about it because they say it is an invasion. We showed you that video yesterday. They're saying it's an unwelcome arrival because it's putting tremendous pressure on their resources. This is what we showed you yesterday, that some of the residents who actually live there in Tijuana, Mexico, are saying about all these migrants that are moving into their area. Listen.
They are coming.
Sentiment in Tijuana is very similar to what the president and people like Tom Homan, the Homeland Security Secretary, have talked about at the border, trying to get control and what it is like. Is this truly an invasion from Central and South America? Obviously, in portions of Mexico like Tijuana, they feel that way. So I wonder how network news coverage would cover
Yeah,
this.
this is a gigantic story. Keep in mind, it's not just Fox News Channel. You've also read about the caravan for weeks in major newspapers. And yet, who covered the caravan last night? According to Newsbusters, ABC 0 seconds, NBC 0 seconds. Homeland Security has told Fox News that they have ID'd more than 500 criminals who are traveling with the caravan. And as Ainsley said, you know, for the most part, it is young men, teenagers, men who are in the caravan. But for the most part, they tend to put the women and children in the front to get the sympathetic news coverage.
Another major story as it relates to the election season. It's not a long election day. We finally have a winner in Georgia, and it really wasn't that close.
Season because
it never ends. It's a month. Yeah,
that's right.
So Stacey Abrams lost, and she did an admirable effort. Had a lot of celebrities, Will Ferrell, Oprah Winfrey, come down, and she helped get a lot of attention to the Georgia election. She lost by at least 55,000 votes, but her lack of humility, her lack of I guess, concession in her concession speech stood out. She's essentially saying voter suppression delivered this by Brian Kemp, and as Secretary of State for the state, he delivered this election for himself. There's a problem, though. The numbers don't add up to what Stacey Abrams is claiming, and the damage she's doing, questioning the integrity of the race, I think is extremely damaging to the country. For example, she claims that 53,000 votes was expunged off the voter rolls. In fact, the voter roll, the turnout swelled by 20% under this Secretary of State.
Well, it was her plan of saying essentially, my opponent, who's in charge of the elections, threw it for himself. And according to Rolling Stone magazine this morning, she is going to file a federal lawsuit to challenge the gross mismanagement of the Georgia elections.
Yesterday, she was on another network. And, you know, remember she said that Brian Kemp was the legitimate governor. Now she's saying that Georgia's race was not a free and fair election. Listen to this.
It was not a free and fair election. We had thousands of Georgians who were purged from the rolls wrongly. The thousands who were forced to wait in long lines because they were in polling places that were under-resourced, or worse, they had no polling places to go to. It was not fair to the thousands that were put on hold with their registrations. Brian Kemp oversaw for 8 years the systematic and systemic dismantling of our democracy, and that means there could not be free and fair elections in Georgia
since 2011, they canceled 1.4 million people off voter registration laws. You know why? Because they were complying with the law in Georgia that says if you have not voted in 3 years, we sent out a notice to you. Are you still alive? Do you still live here? If you don't respond, you are removed. How outlandish is that? That's been on the books since 1993. Also, if you show up and your signature, your ID doesn't match your Social Security or your signature, you're not allowed to vote. But if you show up with proper ID with a Georgia license, you are allowed to vote. Right. The turnout was off the charts. It's swelled by, as I mentioned, 16%. And there's nothing that's here that's not on the books that wasn't done and was transparent. All they're saying, if you're still alive, vote. They wanted to stop you from filling out things and being sloppy about it. She had voter registration groups that went out there and they were just signing people up, but these weren't compliant with the Georgia law. Even though everything increased, there's nothing that Brian Kemp or anybody else did that had anything to do with this election.
All right, well, she said he was the legitimate governor. She said he's the legal one, not the legitimate one.
Well, he is actually going to be a legal, legitimate guest on Fox and Friends. Governor-elect of Georgia will be with us at 7:15 Eastern Time right here on the Fox News Channel. All right. So a very busy Tuesday.
That's right. He'll be on in about an hour.
Yep.
It's about 12 minutes after the top of the hour. The deadline looming for Republicans in Congress to get anything done before Democrats take over the House. Our next guest says the GOP needs to act fast.
And it's a big question at the White House today. Who will it be? What will it be? Peas or carrots? Right. I'm talking about only one will survive, right? The other will package them.
Unless he pardons both. What cute names, peas and carrots.
Delicious.
Marilyn Monroe's favorite.
And pass some meaningful legislation before the Democrats take over. Brad Blakeman is here to explain. He served as deputy assistant to President George W. Bush and was an advisor in the Bush-Cheney campaign. Brad, good morning to you.
Morning.
Okay, you know, there were some things that the Republicans were talking about during the campaign that they never achieved, and now during the lame duck session, it's legacy time, isn't it?
It is, and power is fleeting. We know that we lose the majority next year, so why not act swiftly and boldly and basically tell the Democrats, lead, get out of the way. We need to close up this year with our heads held high, honoring promises, and delivering for the American people. We have the power. We don't have it for a long time. Let's get to work.
Okay, so the agenda for the Republicans during the so-called lame duck, they got to do the budget. That's right. Just one of the things. The wall now, it looks, you know, the House passed $5 billion for it. The Senate, that's still in negotiation. Also, they got to do something about immigration, don't they?
Right, and I think it's ripe when we see the caravan coming through. Now the Mexicans are up in arms. They're protesting because they're being invaded as well. I think the American people understand that it is time for incremental immigration, because we're not going to get an omnibus bill in the lame duck, but we can chip away at it.
Right. And on that graphic over here on the big wall, far right is health care. The Democrats were very effective during the campaign to essentially paint the Republicans as the boogeyman who's going to take away your health care. If you've got a pre-existing condition, you're going to be dead under their plan. But they never offered a plan. It was just a great talking point. But now it's an opportunity for the Republicans to actually do something.
It is, and trying to get a big bill on health care through a complete repeal and replace is unlikely. But we can again make inroads. I would offer up the killing of the medical device tax, something we've tried to do for almost a decade. Democrats believe also that should go. That would be a tremendous help for innovation in healthcare. These are the kinds of things we can do. We shouldn't let the year go by and not do it. And by the way, Republicans that are leaving Congress because they've been ousted by a Democrat, this is a good time to leave a legacy for yourself by getting things done.
And here's the thing. This might be a good time for the Republicans to do some wheeling and dealing with Nancy Pelosi. She's coming in, and we know of at least 16 Democrats who would like to see her gone. They've signed a letter. And apparently she can lose 16, but there are others in the offing. So maybe this is let's make a deal time between some Democrats and some Republicans.
It's time for horse trading. This is truly the art of the deal. Republicans can save Nancy Pelosi, and for Republicans, it's better to deal with the devil we know than the devil we don't. And we know that there are some real crazies coming in to the House, and probably
all these celebrities that are threatening to boycott. You have a boycott that state. Alyssa Milano, Ron Perlman, and Bradley Whitford. What's your reaction? We can actually show you some of the tweets. Look at this, Tommy. Alyssa Milano says, is the entertainment industry willing to support the economy of a totally corrupt state that suppresses democracy, where the winner isn't the best choice for the people, but the best schemer or crook? Ron Perlman, to all my friends who are studio and network executives, if you choose to shoot movies and TV in Georgia, don't bother to call me.
He has deleted that one, and then also one from Bradley Whitfield. Whitford. All right, what do you think, Tommy?
Well, first of all, the Democrats always call it unfair when they lose. So that's first and foremost what we need to understand. This is becoming a pattern with the Democratic Party. But furthermore, people like Alyssa Milano and others that you mentioned, what will we ever do if we don't have movies and TV shows by those creative geniuses? I don't know. I think I'm going to be okay. But beyond that, it's really interesting that they want to lead some kind of a boycott against an entire state, because I think that they're forgetting that some of the people that did, in fact, vote the way that they wanted to live in the state of Georgia and probably would benefit from economic gains and jobs made in the state of Georgia. But I guess they don't care about any of that, because it's all about their outrage. It's all about these continual losses. And it's pretty easy for them to tweet tweet about things that they clearly don't understand.
There's a lot of movie and TV production, and it's not a lot of actresses. It's a lot of everyday grips, lighting people, blue-collar workers. And to Stacey Abrams' credit, she said, don't boycott, because you're going to hurt workers in Georgia, and that is self-destructive.
Tyler Perry has this big industry there.
Yeah, I mean, what are you talking about? Everything's boycott this, boycott that. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi is really fighting for her speaker life because she's had 17 Democrats come forward, sign a paper that says they will not support her as speaker. She's in trouble. She can afford to lose very few others as they try to find out exactly what the majority is in the House. Do you think this is just a head fake, or is she really in jeopardy of losing the gavel?
I think that she's nervous, but I don't think that she has a reason to be, because she has the money and she has the power. And eventually those that are just coming in will understand that and they will fall in line. I talked about this the other day on Fox and Friends. You can have as many challengers as you want come up, and they can do it for the headlines. They can do it to gain attention. They can do it to gain cheers from those who think like they do. And these are people that are on the far left. But at the end of the day, they're going to realize that they need that fundraising money. They need that power. Nancy Pelosi has that power. And I think that she's going to win yet again. But it really doesn't matter if it's Nancy or if it's one of these newcomers. This party is moving so far left, it's unrelatable to the American people. And they have a platform that really is a hollow one, and it rests on raising taxes, more regulation, and climate change committees. So at the end of the day, whether it's Nancy or someone else, it's still an empty bag as far as I'm concerned.
Well, now that they're the majority, they can't complain anymore. They've got to produce. All right, Tommy, thank you very much for joining us from the West Coast. Don't forget, folks, she's one of the hosts over at Fox Nation. Go to foxnation.com to sign up.
Right. She'll be starting on the 27th. Tommy Lahren, thanks. Meanwhile, remember comedian Michelle Wolf at last year's White House Correspondents' Dinner?
I actually really like Sarah. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye.
I know you're laughing at home, but let's try to move on and get through this. Now there's a big change for next year, and she's not happy about it.
Plus, President Trump's approval rating on the economy just hit a personal best. We have those numbers for you.
And Todd Pyro is having a best breakfast with friends in Pennsylvania. We're going to check it out with him in Quakertown, PA, coming up. You saw that
the blue wave?
In front of the White House in the North Lawn. They brought in the brand new Christmas tree yesterday.
How would Ainsley know that?
No, I'm putting it out there for everybody. And today, the president got a bit of a Christmas gift as well. Gallup did a poll, and right now he's at a personal best for the handling of the economy at 53%, which is up 3% from August. And what is interesting, the Gallup historians say that it is 7 points higher than the average rating of presidents going all the way back to Ronald Reagan.
Under 50%, though, when it comes to foreign affairs, health care, and immigration, because they don't fully understand that the president has saved the American people, because they never talk about it at the White House, $26 billion on prescription drugs, and has approved 1,617 generic drugs in the last 20 months for saving us $265 billion as a population. The president's got to even talk more broadly about what's happening with his administration, I feel. And Goldman Sachs, though, gave us a body blow yesterday. They said the U.S. economy, although will grow at about 3.5% this year, next year will slow to a crawl because of the rest of the countries, not because of our production, because it's going to be a global slump.
When you talk about prescription drugs, have you ever stood behind someone at a drugstore and you're waiting for your prescription medicines and you listen to the costs of what people are paying in front of you? It is astronomical. So
and
that's
do you have
good
their
that
names?
Could you
tell me who they are?
Well,
and how much
I slide your credit card in and I say, Brian's going to take the bill.
Here's the thing. I was at a major pharmacy chain,
CVS,
2 days ago.
Walgreens.
It was CVS. And I got the receipt, and it was taller than I was. You know, I bought one thing.
They can save on paper.
Here it
I
is.
always think about that,
Just like that. There's a lot to it.
But you have to look through it because sometimes you get that
$20
off
or $5 bonus.
Yes,
I got to save it.
But they expire, and now they used to let you use them after they expired and no more.
I'm going today after the show.
I do know this. I go to one place that's owned by a family, Charlie's. But the good part is they're great. The bad part is they know everything about you.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, wait a second. I would go back to the generic person with a name tag.
They know all your ailments and all your diseases, but you can charge it. You can charge it at those old pharmacies. I love those. All right, let's hand it over to Todd Pyro. He's having breakfast with our friends. He's in Quakertown, the Quakertown Family Restaurant. It is in Pennsylvania. Hey, Todd.
Hey, guys, good morning to you. Obviously, you guys are talking about the economy. We're talking about the economy here, too. We're going to begin with Aldo. By the way, Aldo says, I have to leave because I need to deliver 400 turkeys. So the moment we're done here, Aldo's going to deliver turkeys. We thank you for that.
Please, I don't want our coworkers back at work to feel that their turkeys aren't going to be on time.
They're going to be there.
We want to make sure that they'll be there on time.
Let's talk about the economy. Why do you give the president the credit for the economy?
I give him credit because I feel that we're all in a better position. I mean, everything is doing better. Our 401ks are doing better. You see more jobs out there. You see the rates of pay going up. So I feel, in all honesty, I feel our president deserves a lot of credit for that. And it's just so much better than it was in the past. So that's important to me. I mean, we see gas. I mean, it goes up, it goes down. But in all due respect, I think that we're in a much better position now because of our president than we were in the past.
And Roger didn't want to talk on camera, but you agree with that, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
yes,
thank you, Silk of Diamond and Silk, the Pennsylvania version. With regard to immigration, you say, you see the caravan coming across. It's been all over the news for weeks now. You say immigration needs to be done the right way. Why?
With immigration, we got to get it right. And in my opinion, both parties need to, get off of their high horses. They need to work together and try to do the right thing and not worry about which party is going to get credit for doing the right thing. I think that we're in a position now where we just need to move forward, get it right. A lot of these immigrants they're good people. They work hard. We need them in this country, and we need them, and they want to do the right thing. So I think that
so you want them to pay taxes, be done the right way.
I think that they need to do it the right way, and I think that both political parties are keeping this from happening. They need to team up, work together, and make it happen, and it can happen. And hopefully, and I want to believe that our president wants that to happen, and we need to make it happen.
Aldo, thank you very much for your time.
And also,
Aldo's a fellow Paisan. He's not letting the microphone go away from him.
Also, what's important to me is I like the avenue that our president is taking on pro-life.
Understood. Aldo, they're giving me the rap. I got to go.
He's doing the right thing. Let's move forward.
He's doing the right thing. We're doing the right thing. Going back to New York again. We Italians, all we do is talk. We can't be quiet. Quakertown Family Diner here. We're having a great family restaurant. Having a great time this morning.
And Aldo's talking turkey as well. He's got to go.
I love that. He's delivering
all right,
the turkey.
Todd, thank you very much.
Thanks, Todd.
Julia Mealy is not a big talker. She's a good reader.
Oh, thank you. I'm a pretty quiet person.
You are?
Yeah.
But what you say is always important.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so let me tell you this now, because we've been following the wildfires out of California for a while now, since this started. And at this point, 82 people are confirmed. Michelle Wolf.
I like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye.
Well, next year's event will feature Pulitzer Prize-winning historian and author Ron Chernow. Wolf tweeting after the announcement, quote, "The White House Correspondents Association are cowards. The media is complicit, and I couldn't be prouder." With the midterms behind us, the biggest race we are watching today is for the annual White House turkey pardon. Americans can vote on Twitter whether the president should honor peas or carrots at today's ceremony. Now, according to their official bios, Peas loves popcorn and Brad Paisley, but Carrots is really into Elvis and M&M's. The turkeys spent the night at D.C.'s luxury Willard Hotel. They'll retire at Virginia Tech after today's pardon.
And how would you like to be the person who gets the room at the Willard Hotel after the turkeys?
I know, right?
Absolutely.
That's so cute. They need to paint one green and one orange for peas and carrots so we can tell them apart.
All right.
They look identical.
This is the time of morning when we toss out to Janice, and she's usually just with a couple of people.
Yes, but it's important. It's 6:30, and how are you? What are your names?
Justin.
And?
Tony.
Are you together?
Yes.
Where are you from?
Oklahoma.
Are you excited?
Of course.
Yes, Thanksgiving is here in New York. Thank you for being with me at 6:30 in the morning. Let's take a look at the maps real quick, and I will show you that we are expecting a little bit of snow flurry activity across the Great Lakes in the Northeast. You can see where that cold air is coming in from the northern plains and a little bit of snow. This is not a big storm system, but it is going to cause some travel delays. Also watching the West Coast as well, where we have heavy rainfall moving into the region. A good news, bad news story. They need the rainfall. Unfortunately, it could bring the potential for flash flooding and mudslides to the area. And of course, Thanksgiving is here. The rest of the country looks pretty quiet. All right, listen, come over here, my friends. One of the things I am most thankful for at Thanksgiving is the people that I meet on the plaza here at Fox Square, like you. And listen, I write about all the things I am thankful for on foxnews.com. 10 reasons to be thankful for. Did you know that if you write down what you are grateful for, you are apt to be a happier person? So that's what everyone should do today. Will you do that for me? 10 things of gratitude?
Yes, I will.
Are you grateful for Fox and Friends?
Of course.
Excellent answer. We are grateful for Steve, Ainsley, and Brian as well.
All right,
inside.
at foxnews.com, we get your column, right?
Yes, absolutely. Please do.
I love it.
Yay.
Oh, Janice,
Hey, Janice.
so happy for you.
Meanwhile, 17 minutes before the top of the hour, go log on and you'll find out more.
Meanwhile, did the midterm elections prove Democrats are the party of elites and not the Democrats? We're going to talk to a Democrat who worked on Bernie Sanders' campaign, who says the party's problem is not the message, it's the messengers.
It's going to be exciting.
always is.
Wow, it always is. Thank you for that, Ainsley. Plus, Governor-elect Brian Kemp will be here live. Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi and Mark Stein. Op-ed for The Hill says that the midterm elections reveal that Democrats are the party of the elite, not the middle class.
Author Jeremy Carl writing this: the reality is that the Democratic Party has become the party of the rich, including rich suburbs, and the poor, and the GOP, the party of the forgotten and increasingly disempowered middle class.
Yep. So do Democrats need to work on their messaging to middle class voters, or should they just maximize that level of income? Joining us now is former National Justice Director for Bernie Sanders, presidential campaign, Teslin Figaro. Teslin, what's different about the results we got from Democrats for 2016 voters as opposed to 2018?
Well, I mean, what's different about it is people are finally waking up and seeing who's controlling the party. One reason Bernie Sanders did so well and why people did support him, people like me, who I am not a socialist, by the way, but people like me supported him because he talked about the working class, he talked about the working poor, he talked about how big money and Wall Street control politics. It's also the same thing why President Trump was obviously very successful. How did a billionaire, President Trump, identify with the working class and the working poor? Mm-hmm. It was simply one reason and one reason only: his authenticity and his ability to make people believe that he could not be controlled by money. This is a money game. It always has been, particularly on the Democrat side. They've done a very poor job over the last decade plus of pretending to be one of the working class and one of the working poor. Yet when Bernie Sanders talks about big money controlling, he's talking about a lot of his friends. That was the great divide between Hillary Clinton and all of the money and all the celebrities and all of the fundraising that she was able to do compared to Bernie Sanders' message. So my message is, it's not the message necessarily. They're talking about the issues that matter. The point is, it's the messenger. We need a new Moses. That's just the bottom line. Somebody has to come with some authenticity that someone actually believes and that actually puts their money where their mouth is, and we can actually see who controls them and who doesn't. The people have not been in charge of the Democrat Party for a very long time.
I like that. We need a new Moses. Do you think the Democratic Party, they need to find someone like a Donald Trump? I feel like the Republican Party used to be the party of the elites, and then Donald Trump comes along, and he resonates with the people who live in middle America, who don't have a lot of money, because he's tough. He's tough, and that's how they are. They're tough. They fight for what they want, and they're hard workers, and they get out there, and they get their hands dirty, and they're farmers, and, you know, they're trying to put food on the table for their families. Who do you think has that type of a reputation in the Democratic Party that could lead the Democrats?
You know, really, to be quite honest with you, I don't know, because when you let's look at what happened with Nancy Pelosi. Everybody said, oh yeah, you know, we're going to be challenging her. Even some Congressional Black Caucus members said that we're demanding to get a seat at the table, and now they've all folded like cheap napkins. So I don't know who's going to be in charge.
They signed a form that's really putting her back against the wall.
17 of them.
Yeah, 17 of them. You get a few more to step out, and she's in a lot of trouble. But some of the Democrats that have been successful are in middle to upper middle class areas. Some Democrats are hailing that. You're saying that look out for that because you might have lost the rural community.
Yeah, and I'm saying that the 17 people that signed up, we'll see how long they stay signed up, and we'll see if they'll be successful. It's not that she's never been challenged. The point is she came out flat out and said she will be the next Speaker of the House, and so to come out with that level of arrogance, that's what the problem is.
Interesting.
All right. Tezlyn, thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have a good one. All right, it is 50 minutes after the top of the hour. More big government. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio says government should control every plot of land.
My words exactly. Plus, hair care tools for nearly 80% off.
My word, your words exactly.
I've always been said this. I need this type of deal. Cookware for 75% off. We got mega morning deals next for you.
Go get your curling iron, guys.